Morning all, how are we doing? So I'm a bit late this morning. Just running late. No reason, no excuse, miss. Just late. Morning Stevie, morning David Burke. How are we doing? What price do I have on my charts as a gap fill? 185, 180. What? Steve, I haven't got 185, 180. You just asked in the Telegram group. Gap fill for me is about 14,020, somewhere around there. Morning to you, Armand. Sorry, just doing multiple things at once. We've got 5 minutes to the open. So there's a couple of levels I've got marked on my chart for the DAX this morning. The 143.20 and 142.35-ish. Which is obviously the high from last week and this previous high from beginning of the month. So this is the monthly high, and this is last week's high. So we're approaching those levels at the minute. We've got a big gap so far this morning. So I'm just basically trying a quick short to see if it'll done at the open. I'm just going to give it a few minutes because we quite often get a little bit of pre-market movement. So I'm just going to see if we can get a push down, not up, down. Just as I say that. See if I can get a little bit of a push down before the open, and if we do, I'm just going to close one out because I've got up roughly 0.5%. I might move this to break even actually on the open. I don't want to get. We've obviously gapped up and we've pushed up at the open, so it is all bullish this morning. So I don't really want to get stopped out just for no reason. So we've got two levels basically, which we may come up and test, and we're not far away from that one. So my stop on these two positions is just above the above this level, basically last week's high. So I'm just going to see if they're going to test that this morning, but we'll see. Give it a couple of minutes. 14.022, yeah, 14.0, yeah, somewhere around there. Basically, if people put the gap fills in different places, so you can either use where it closed, which is really what the gap fill is, the close, which is 14.019 on my chart. But quite often I use the high of that last 5 minute candle as well, because I've noticed in the past sometimes it does just come down and do that as well, because this is the last block of orders traded at the close, so sometimes it doesn't quite get there. Most of the time though, it will obviously just chop around the gap fill somewhere, so it doesn't really matter. I usually close it way before we get to the gap anyway. As you know, out too soon. Right, so on Friday we had a big spinning top put in. So basically big pause candle on Friday. We've gapped up quite significantly. So this is looking, the DAX at the moment, obviously we're following market structure very nicely at the moment, but we are starting to get a little bit close to breaking market structure on this potentially. So this week I would be expecting us to drop, but obviously we've got this level here to come and retest, and then obviously this previous level to come and retest for the space of this month's high. So this month all we've done really is dump and pull back to pretty much where we started. So not really any movement so far this month. If you look at it on the monthly chart, I'm not going to have many candles on this, but I suppose we are pretty up, aren't we? Because we had a big push at the beginning of the month. So, but yeah, so you can see we're kind of still bearish, but slightly more bullish over the last sort of week than usual. Main reason for that being this massive 6-day run up, which is very rare. I did some analysis on the DAX at the weekend, Just doing some. I don't know if I've got it. Did I save that data? Yeah, I did. Just move that out of the way. So this is DAX data basically. Maximum up days in a row. So I'm doing a bit of analysis as to what happens historically with the DAX. This is 20 odd years of data. Lots of buying coming in. I'm going to get stopped out on this, I think. At the open. Market's open. 6 days in a row up. We've only had 50 of them ever. Out of a couple of thousand days been analysed here, 2,500 days. So it's quite a rare event. Going to 7 up days in a row, which we didn't get because we got this big down day, is even rarer. The maximum run we've ever had is 14. But you can see these are very much outlier events here. The vast majority of the time, we don't get more than 3 or 4 days in one direction at once before we get a pullback, which is a really good. This is what I say about this. This is my kind of key level is 3. If I see 3 days in a row in one direction, I'm all over it the opposite direction because it's rare. Not rare, but I mean the odds are very much in your favour that we're going to get a pullback. So yeah, I was just looking at that basically just to give me a bit of info as to what to expect this week. Because I'm doing an analysis on weekly and all sorts of other analysis on it, but I'll cover that another time. Putting down at the moment at the open. So looking for bearish week basically this week. Once we've come up and taken out these highs, if we do, that's all I would expect this week, and then basically nice big drops this week. So this high obviously is the main danger point. So if you want to scale into shorts this week, if you wanted to play a swing from today, now is a great time to start getting in. Add a position there, add a position there, stop out somewhere up there. Very high reward as a trade for a swing short if you wanted to take it. So coming down nicely at the open, good selling flurry coming in. Getting out when you hit your target is fine. There's an old saying, no one ever went skint taking a profit. That's very true. That's kind of what I allude to a lot in the Boocamp. Everybody's got a different pain level. Everybody's got a different level where they're happy to make money. So what you have here and what you have here for everybody is going to be different, and for me it changes. Sometimes I'm happy with 10%, sometimes I'm unhappy with 5%, and that is all dependent on what is sitting over here. If this is looking very rosy as it is this month, I'm happy for this to get worse because I've got more of a buffer, and that's going to change on a daily, weekly and monthly basis for everybody. So I'm getting in fairly aggressive this morning before the open because I've got a whacking great buffer of profit to play with. If I was sitting on 4% profit for the month, I'd be thinking twice about getting in here. It's different for everybody, and I'll take profit quicker. If I'm having a tough week, I take profit a lot quicker than if I'm having a relaxed week, i.e. profitable week. I let things run longer, but that's the psychology of trading, and that's what is different for everybody. Which is why all these books on psychology never tell you how to deal with the psychology of trading. Because there's just an infinite number of possibilities. So I'm trading this on the live account as well. On the live account, I keep saying live account. On the funded account as well. I'm just going to shut couple of those down. We're just approaching these lows basically. We're just retesting basically the low of the open. I'm just going to see what we do here. I've got a pending sitting underneath this low, so if we get a nice break through this low, I think we'd do the gap fill this morning, but we are finding support here. Morning, Harry, if I didn't say that. Tammy. Okay, I'm closing one out. Going to break even on the other. Right. Okay, so we've got 0.7 banked. I'm just going to let that run, break even. So might well get stopped out on it, but looking for the fill on the rest. Been in the Euro Swiss since the 18th. It's like pulling teeth. Yes, it will be. I was pushing up this morning. You've got a very good chance of this, I think, doing something this week. Obviously, we had that massive dump on Wednesday, was it? Tuesday, Wednesday, yeah, Wednesday last week. And then obviously Thursday when the Swiss franc went to the moon. Friday, we had nothing. And this morning, we're looking fairly bullish. So I think you've got a good chance of that kind of price action happening this week. We'll have a look at the news in a minute, but yeah, I think that's going to want to pull back. I'm not sure whether or not it's going to get here. I think it might get stuck along the way a little bit, but you should get at least half to 3/4 of an ADR, if not more, out of that to the upside this week. All the euros are holding up, let's say, at the minute, which is good. So if you get Swiss franc weakness, which you will likely do after a move like that, because don't forget, people are going to be taking profit on this move. Anybody that bought the Swissy and has made a load of money on it will want to be selling the Swissy, depending on whether they bought it on the Aussie, the CAD, or whatever, whichever Swiss franc cross they bought. They'll start to sell their Swiss franc, which will devalue the Swiss franc, which will mean everything will go up against the Swiss franc. Even if it's not strong, the Swiss franc will lose its value, which means even if the euro was to stay completely flat for the entire week, it would still push up because the Swiss franc has been sold off. So I think you've got a good chance on that. The only thing I've got on at the moment is the US Dollar Cad, which is a partial position. I took some off of this last week. As a loss. So I had a couple of positions up here as well, which I closed out on Friday as loss. So I left these on because they were obviously close to where price was chopping about, but I'm waiting for a bit of a US push this morning, so or not this morning, this week. So I've left these two on. I'm just going to monitor it. I'm looking to add down here at ADR. But that's kind of my last chance saloon on the US Dollar CAD. If we get down to here and we start to break down lower, I don't really want to hold it too much more. We've got a couple of levels of support down here to look at, but I'm really looking for these lows either to get swept and taken up, or and then the next stop is down here, but I just don't. I've already lost two positions on it. I don't want to just continuously scale into this and continue just taking loss all the way down. US dollar's just not got it anymore. It's not got the strength it used to have. It is strength. I don't think it's going to weaken any further too much, but equally it hasn't got the strength it used to have. So I've just been a bit cautious on that one. Just putting back inside bar at the minute. The buying coming through. Might just go just outside the opening range high with that stop. It's only going to be a tiny loss, but I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt on the opening range high. See if they double top it. Doesn't look like they are. They're gone. Wow. Looks like he wants to go long. Okay, so we've got an opening range high break. New Zealand Dollar Cad just hit ADR. I'll have a look at those in a minute. So these are the next levels. Last week's high and the monthly high are your next potential levels for a bounce if it's going to go long. So there's not really much of an opening range break long to take. You've got about 100 points to the upside potentially, but that's about it. So don't really fancy taking a long on it. So I think I'm going to wait, either take that break down to the gap fill, or I'm going to wait and see if we get up to there and challenge that area or that area, and then look for price action to get in short up there. But I think they may have just done exactly what they planned to do with me, which was just take my stop and short it. We'll see what happens. Right, let's have a look at the news. Just so you know, by the way, I'm not here next week. I'm off on holiday next week. It's the bank holiday in the UK as well. So Thursday and Friday, the markets are shut in the UK. So I'm off next week. So no live rooms at all next week. Back the week after. Well, I say I'll be back the week after. I fly in, if all goes to plan, at 11:30 Sunday night. Which means, yeah, I'll be operating on a couple of hours sleep. But yeah, so no live rooms next week. Right, so news this week to look out for. We've got Bailey speaking later. We've got the business climate this morning on the euro, which doesn't tend to really do an awful lot. We might find the DAX is hanging around this morning, just waiting for that to happen, but it doesn't really do a lot of impact. We've got CAD holiday today. Not that really matters either. Main news is tomorrow, basically tomorrow morning, is the Euro PMIs. Obviously the German PMIs, but it's the whole. Germany basically is most of the economy for Europe, for the PMIs and everything. So that's tomorrow morning, 8:30. So that's going to be the main market mover. We've got the pound PMIs and the US PMIs in the afternoon. Pound ones in the morning, US in the afternoon. Then we've got Powell and Lagarde speaking after market, well, basically after I finish trading anyway, tomorrow. New Zealand dollar, we've got the rate announcement estimated to go up 0.5%. No reason why it shouldn't. We've just had the election in Australia yesterday as well, which I don't think has really done an awful lot. We'll have a look at all of that in a minute. But so Wednesday morning, we've got that. So we need to see what happens to the New Zealand dollar today and tomorrow. Difficult to tell where it's going to go direction-wise with that one. If it has a bit of a run-up, I'd probably look for shorts. If it has a bit of a dump, I'd probably look for longs on it. But it will be factored in, that 2%. They don't often change it from expectation. We've had a couple of instances. Last one obviously was the last one. But we've had a couple of instances where they have done something different in New Zealand. So it is something that does happen, but again, with rates, it is always very, very rare. So we will see what happens, but 0.5% is forecast. The fact that they went from 0.25% forecast to 0.5%, I would suspect 0.5% is exactly what we'll get. It's the governments and central banks tend to move in 0.5% increments the vast majority of the time. So if that was forecast at 0.25%, I'd be thinking maybe we might get a bit of a shock, but I think 0.5% is probably realistic. So so that's Wednesday morning. That's the main mover of the week. We've got quite a bit of other information coming out on Wednesday as well. We've got Kuroda speaking, talking heads, etc., etc. And then obviously Wednesday we've got FOMC, which is the biggie. So everything revolves around FOMC the vast majority of the time. That's when we get the big moves, and we often get the hints as to what's happening with the Fed rates coming out of that. So FOMC weeks, we tend to get one of two things happening. We either get an accumulation ready ahead of FOMC, and then the whole market decides to make its moves after FOMC, or we get a sustained move in one direction and quite often a reversal on FOMC. So sort of a midweek, as would you call it, a midweek reversal. So we'll see what happens this week as to what goes on with price action, but you need to be aware of that obviously for Wednesday. We've got GDP for the US dollar on Thursday, holiday in Europe, and then on Friday we've got PCE. So fairly busy week, lots and lots and lots of US news this week, pretty much every day. We haven't got anything today, but tomorrow we've got PMIs, we've got FOMC, we've got GDP, and then we've got PCE. So it's going to be a big one for the US dollar, which is partly why I'm holding this US dollar, because I think we'll probably power up the US dollar. There's enough news coming out, and as long as it's not ridiculously bad, I think we'll probably get some decent movement up on the US dollar. It's whether or not it's going to happen ahead of FOMC, or we're going to get that sort of movement ahead of FOMC and then we get a move. So we'll be looking on Wednesday at where we're potentially going to be headed. So FOMC, we quite often get those big old spikes, so they'll do liquidity runs. So I can kind of see this grinding this week and then coming down and grabbing this liquidity and then running off with it midweek. So we'll see. But yeah, so big news week. Lots to keep us entertained this week. I'm going to be fairly light on my entries this week. I don't want to get into anything that I'm going to have to hold for any amount of time. I'm still not holding long at the minute anyway, but obviously with me being away, I'd rather not have the laptop open on the beach. I might take some photos. You know, those I need those photos of me sitting on the beach trading, showing you how much money you can make by doing absolutely nothing sitting on the beach. Might get a few photos of those, and then I come back and take some shots with me in front of a Lamborghini. But apart from that, I'm hoping I'm not going to open my laptop. So I will do, but yeah, so I'm going to be fairly light scaling in this week. As I say, I'm just kind of holding this. I've had a good month. I've got next week off, so if I can close the month out on 30%, I should be more than happy. So let's have a look at ADRs so far. Obviously nothing's hit the weekly. It's first day of the week. We've got lots of monthlies hit. They haven't gone anywhere. So this all kind of hit. Most of this Swiss franc stuff obviously triggered last week. Unlikely we'll go much further with any of that. So ADRs so far today are New Zealand Dollar Cad and New Zealand Dollar US. So big run up on the New Zealand dollar across the board. So not quite sure. This is obviously ahead of the rate announcements for Wednesday. So we're getting some run up. So people are expecting obviously positive moves, I'm guessing. But not sure. Let's have a quick look at the New Zealand's actually. So yeah, so we're obviously bearish. New Zealand Dollar Cad we're bearish. New Zealand Dollar US we're bearish. New Zealand Dollar Yen we're bullish, and New Zealand Dollar Swiss we're kind of chopping around a bit neutral. So a bit of a mixed bag on the New Zealands. The New Zealand US and New Zealand Cad is mainly due to US and Cad strength. The Yen is obviously due to the Yen weakness, and the Swiss franc is just sideways and neutral at the moment, and that's basically what we've got from the New Zealand dollar as well. So all the Aussies and the New Zealands have been kind of neutral to weak. So it's difficult to tell what this rate increase is going to do for them. I would say it's probably going to be positive. So as I say, with these, we may get a bit of a push up and then a drop back down, because we've got so much US dollar news coming out this week, and if we are going to get that strong US dollar, it doesn't really matter what the New Zealand dollar does. It's going to get battered down by the US dollar anyway. So I'd be looking this week really for short opportunities on New Zealand. There's a fair few levels we've got coming up to aim for. So, oops, wrong one. So New Zealand dollar, CAD and US, obviously we're at ADRs now, so if you wanted to start a short position, this is a good spot to start getting in and looking for short opportunities. So both of these look like good reversals this morning. Looking on the M5, it's a fair old way to go to get an alert on that. And on the CAD, oops, well, that's a bit tighter. So yeah, good short opportunities on those. What are they doing on the RSIs? Yeah, nicely extended as well. So yeah, we've got good extensions on RSI as well on both of these. New Zealand Dollar Cad and New Zealand Dollar US Dollar. Very nice extended. See, the problem is I'm exposed on the US dollar and the CAD, and those are the two I want to take. Do I want to overexpose myself on the US or the CAD a week ahead of going on holiday? They're both good shorts. New Zealand Dollar CAD is the most extended, obviously, at the moment on the hourly. 4 hourly. It's extended on both, isn't it? Yeah. It's the same picture on both, isn't it, really? We've got more US dollar news this week, haven't we? I would go, I mean, either of these are both good short opportunities. From a levels perspective, they're both very difficult to pick as well. You've got that level there. That's a fairly decent level. Apart from that, we're coming all the way back up here. So from an extension point of view, if they're going to run the New Zealand dollar up this week, we've got roughly an ADR movement ahead of Wednesday. So we're going to need, we've done an ADR today. We need to push a little bit further, basically, if we're going to use support and resistance to make a move from down there. So scaling one here, scaling up here, scaling up there, and look for that. But if you get in here, obviously we're in the 24.72 zone. We're extended on the 4 hour and the hourly. Could just come straight down from here, couldn't it? I'm in two minds as to whether to take this, because I've already got US dollar and CAD on. If I take New Zealand dollar CAD short, I'm hedging myself on the CAD, so I would have to take New Zealand dollar US dollar short. That would be my trade. If we push up obviously a little bit more, we're going to get a reversal under there, so that would be your entry. Nice target to aim for as well down there, just for an intraday thing. So yeah, both look good. New Zealand US for shorts. New Zealand US and New Zealand CAD. So that's all we've got on the ADRs today. So I'm just watching DAX dancing around in this range. I think we're waiting for the German business climate to come out at 9 o'clock. We're not going anywhere at the minute. We're just hovering about, which is no fun. I'm just toying with the idea. I've still got a position on, which I might get out of. I don't want this to run away. I'll leave it for the minute. Yeah, we're not going in on the DAX, so don't have to worry about that. Right, so hourlies. We've got the Aussie Dollar CAD. Nice extended on the hourly. Again, all these are pushing up, so your Aussies and your New Zealands will all push together most of the time. So if we get a strong New Zealand, you'll typically get a decent move on the Aussie as well. So that's pushing up very nicely. Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar. You can tell obviously which one's in control at the moment. At the minute, we've got the Aussie dollar, but it's very, very, sorry, the New Zealand dollar, but it's very, very, very sideways on these at the minute. They're kind of moving very nicely at the moment. If you look at the 4 hour though, the Aussie dollar is in control. Bigger economy, bigger country. So I would expect a drop on this if we get that New Zealand dollar push, obviously. So Aussie dollar CAD, nicely extended to the upside on the 4 hour. And we would be looking for shorts on this one because Canadian dollar is obviously very strong. So we've got a lovely little double top potential here. So we're at the 24.72 area. Good area of accumulation before that. So lovely area to get in short. Canadian dollar should continue to strengthen, obviously, with oil prices doing what they're doing. So yeah, it looks really good for a short. It's not very extended. It's only just got there. I prefer to see things a little bit more in the 75 to 80 level. But I think it's worth getting in now if you want to scale into a position. So looking at levels on it, on the Aussie CAD. If you got into one here, you've got another position potentially there. It's a little bit too close together to get two positions on really, but you've got obviously this high up there. So an entry here somewhere, an entry roughly half an ADR apart, and then another one up there. If we were to get anywhere near that, you're going to be absolutely skyrocketed. And then looking for a drop there. It's going to take something pretty meaty to get that up there with the Canadian dollar strength at the moment. So this is in a really good spot for short opportunities. Euro New Zealand as well. It's pushed down, we're extended, but as you know, I'm always short. So looking for basically short opportunities on this. So you can take it long if you like, and obviously it's going to need New Zealand dollar to weaken off of the rate announcement on Wednesday morning to do that. So I'd be much more inclined for that to drop. So today, tomorrow, we're probably just going to get something like that, I think. So not really interested in longs on that one. Pound US dollar. Again, US dollar's been fairly weak. We know we've got a weak pound at the minute. So again, this is in a really good spot for shorts. You've got a lovely level coming up here. The only downside to the the pound US dollar is from a technical perspective, if this level here breaks, you've got clear sky, literally all the way back up to there. So we're getting nicely extended on the 4 hour. We're up in the 24.72 zone where we would look to usually start having that drop happening. Sorry, just got to take some profit. That one. DAX is just dumping. Well, I say dumping. Just put a new lower low in. So yeah, so looking for a decent drop on this one. Pound is still very, very weak. US dollar, even if it's neutral, next weakness on the pound is going to dump. We've got news this week for the pound in the form of the PMIs tomorrow. So if they don't come out as positive, that's all the market needs basically for a next execution of the next block of orders basically, and off we go. And obviously got lots and lots and lots of US. So obviously when you've got a massive amount of news coming in for an individual currency, it's a good time to take any real type of position, because any type of positive news and negative news will whipsaw the market. So regardless of whether you were to get in long or short, typically with a week like we've got with US news every single day of the week, you'll get that opportunity to get out of pretty much any trade you get into, any position, because it's going to get moved around. The danger is all news comes out as negative for the US dollar. And this thing just will go like that, because you'll just have negative push after negative push after negative push. So you need to be aware of where the market is likely to want to reach for if that worst case scenario was to happen. And this is why we've got this sort of danger zone here. Nice selling on the DAX. I think I've just been gathered up by the looks of things. No, not quite. Didn't quite get down there. I like the look of this as a short at the minute. Nicely extended. The conditions are right from a directional perspective. So yeah, looking good on the pound US dollar. New Zealand Dollar Cad we've looked at. So New Zealand Dollar Cad and US dollar, New Zealand Dollar, US dollar, both looking good for shorts. This is very, very orderly, this move down. So there's no, as you can see, the last propulsion gap we've got is there. There's no propulsion gaps basically in this entire move. We've got one there. But apart from that, there's nothing. So this thing's been really, really orderly in its descent. So looking for that to continue. Really, just we're pulling back, profit taking at the moment on that move. So waiting for the next US dollar CAD power up, I think. I'm just going to get out of this. I had a few positions on the DAX. It's just rejected that low. So I'm just closing it out on my other platform. Just don't want to risk this push. We've gone nowhere so far this morning. Literally, we have just literally opened and taken out everybody that went short. We've taken out everybody that's gone long. We're just waiting for that German climate info to come out at 9 o'clock, I think. I don't think we're going to get anywhere. So I'm getting out. New Zealand Dollar CAD. So both of these good for shorts. So drop down to lower time frames, M15, M5, depending on whichever you want to use. Yeah, wait for reverse alerts and start building position short on that. US dollar Swiss. US dollar Swiss is a tricky one. Obviously, this Swiss franc move, I think, took everybody by surprise last week. If it strengthens up, the Swiss, when it strengthens up, is obviously very strong, as you can see. So it doesn't matter if the US is being strong at the same time as the Swissy. You're just going to get it go sideways, and if the Swissy wants to carry on, it's going to drop. So I think if we are back to where we used to be with the Swiss franc, in the fact that it will have flurries of orders and flurries of money flying through it, and then stopping, we've probably seen that move finish. So we've had the reverse alert on the 4 hour, which we're just retesting at the moment. We're back down in the 24.72 zone, and I think that's probably a good spot to start looking for longs. So again, really nice looking long opportunities. You may have got into this last week. Hasn't gone anywhere since it got extended. But like it for longs, we've got some very big propulsion gaps. Lots of uneven market price action. So I think we're looking for a good move to the upside on this one. Very difficult, like the New Zealand dollar, to pick a level on it. Very, very orderly. But the last Swiss franc strength that we had coming in took us down to this level, which is where we are sitting right now. So today is kind of a key day. If we get this retest and break back above here today, I think we're probably looking at a nice orderly move back up, and then we'll use the news to start executing those orders this week. So good moves on US dollar Swiss, but again, it's only just extended now because we had the big extension last week. So you would have been in this, got into it last week at some point, but as I said, I didn't take any of this last week because I just didn't want to stand in the way of this steam train last week. So the accumulation on Thursday, Friday really was your entry if you're brave enough to take it, or if not, kind of now. So that's the 4 hours. The hourly's pretty much the same stuff. It's all the same stuff we just looked at basically on 4 hour and 1 hour. So I'll have a quick whiz through all the other pairs as well. We'll have a look at gold as well and the other indices. Euro US dollar just swept Thursday's daily high and has tapped into the 1 hour supply, waiting for lower time frame confirmation. Yep, she was just taking out those highs. Yeah, I'd watch that level there. I mean, that's a nice level, but you've also got that high from previous week. So they've just taken Thursday's high, but you've got less than an ADR to go and take that ahead of news. So we've got no US dollar news today, which means that they could quite easily just run that liquidity up there and then use the US dollar news to start that move. So I'll be a bit careful of shorting it there. I mean, it's good. It's a good level to short at. So yeah, I mean, quite right, but I'll be a bit wary of that. Too much of a temptation. You look at how much accumulation you've had. You've had 2 good solid weeks of balance. Market's been very, very, very happy to trade at that level. We had a little bit of price discovery last week. Weren't interested in going short. Would make sense to do price discovery up there. We're not going to want to go long. So that would be kind of what I would be doing if I was a banker. But I'm not. But that's a textbook sort of play, really. So be a bit careful with that one. Entry today would give you 60 odd pips move to the upside. So about 3/4 of an ADR. Half to a 3/4 ADR move for a second position. So getting one, if you're right, happy days. If not, second position. Looks good. Gold. I know there's quite a few people trading gold. So it's just a bit choppy at the minute. We got this level down here of balance where we were sitting happily trading away. Bit of price discovery in both directions before we had that big run up. We're back in this zone now, but we have just broken back above this level, which I was anticipating being the resistance for a move back down into these sorts of lows with powering up the US dollar. Obviously, the US dollar's not done that at the moment, so we've got a little bit further than I would expect us to go on gold. We're getting to the point where we're almost extended on the RSI. So right now, I think this week is a good time to start shorting gold, somewhere up here. We've got quite a bit of chop around here, where we're going to start getting, we're going to start butting into sellers, because we've obviously been selling for quite a long time now, since mid-April. And we're pulling back up into the 24.72. So this is, a deep pullback, basically. If we're going to continue this downtrend, we would expect the US dollar to find a bit of strength this week. So really good time to start selling gold up here. So I'll be looking for reversal alerts on this one, on lower time frames. Look at that. What the hell? Blimey. Half an ADR spike there. Ordinarily, I'd say they just cleared the decks, but that's they've obviously pushed up higher anyway. So there's some. It's a good level to start looking for short opportunities. There's plenty of levels coming up that are going to act as support resistance up here. So really, it's virtually impossible to tell where it's going to start its move from. So you just have to get in, hold on if it goes against you. There's plenty of areas up here where we're going to start finding some sellers, I think, coming in. So looking for a nice down week on this week. So. But it's not quite extended on any time frame. Not that I trade this anyway, but I mean I would still be looking for extensions on it. But lovely shorting opportunities on gold. So look for some bearish price action. So I'm just watching DAX. Corner of my eye. I have got gathered up into that sell on that last candle. Didn't really want to be in it ahead of the news, but I've got a very tight stop on it as well, which is why I'm keeping an eye on it. I think I'll do a minute. Jason, also with the sell-offs we're seeing on equities, Nasdaq has tapped into the 1 hour. I don't know what premium supply area is, but you basically all indices short. So yeah, short. They've all got gap fills today. So I mean, everything is a gap fill. But you don't want to be buying Nasdaq, do you? Short. Right. Let's whiz through. Let's look at the US indices while we're there. So Nas, we've got a new low. Obviously, we had the big sell-off last week across all the indices. They've basically stalled out at the lows, pushed up. So unlike the DAX, the US indices have got a little bit more upside potential on them at the moment. It's very difficult to call these bottoms on these indices. There's a few. Where was it? There's a few analysts that I was reading, which prompted me to do that research on the DAX over the weekend. There's a few analysts watching this from a long-term perspective. Those statistics I just showed you on the spreadsheet at the beginning of the session to do with historic data and run-up and run-downs on the daily. You can apply those to weekly charts as well. We are at a level here where the percentage odds of a long are getting dramatically larger on all US indices. So we've now had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks down. We don't get 7 weeks down. Even when we're in a bear market, 7 years down. We didn't get 7 weeks down. We didn't get 7 weeks down in COVID. Yeah. It's getting to unprecedented levels. So there's a lot of talk of a fairly decent pullback coming on the US indices. So saying don't want to be shorting it. I still would want to be shorting it, but you've got to be aware of obviously this potential bull run that we've got coming. We've been dumping and dumping and dumping and dumping and dumping. It's going to get to the point where stock is going to get so cheap, it's going to be very difficult for people not to want to buy it. But you look at the levels that have been called for the lows from when they started talking about the big dump. This was the level 3,400 and 3,400, 3,500 level is where they were calling for the low. We're nowhere near it yet. We're weeks away. A good month is going to take us to get down there. But most analysts are saying, it's unlikely we can do it after a rundown of this potential size. So if you look at what we had COVID, if you measure COVID, we did 12,000 drop. We've done 8. So there's potential 4. So we're 2/3 of the way through this potential sell-off. But we had up days in COVID. We had an up week in COVID, even though this thing was collapsing. We had an up week in it, and we bounced back very, very quick. So the decision to make right now is: are we going to get here? And if we are going to get here, when are we going to get there? Because I don't think, and I kind of agree with what the analyst is saying, I don't think we can just do this in one go. I think that's going to be a very, very difficult move to make. So looking at it, obviously, from smaller time frames, it doesn't matter on M5 at all. You could go long and short on M5, M15 and hourly, really. It doesn't really affect you too much. But when you're looking at the daily charts, that pullback, we should be looking maybe somewhere up into here. So there is potential, I think, this week for a pullback into the 24.72 area, back up into there. Whether or not we're going to do that sort of movement in 1 week and give ourselves another bearish weekly candle, because if you look at it, we've already done exactly that move in the past. This was that move there. Yeah, we had this 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we went screaming up, and then within 2 days we undid the whole thing. Yeah, big scream up for 3 days, and then absolutely collapsed. We've got to be careful that we don't get that. Basically, we're going to draw that kind of candlestick, yeah, this week. So we're going to run up really hard, FOMC, slam it. So being a little bit cautious on the US indices this week, because there is a possibility of a big strong buying frenzy coming through, and then a massive sell-off towards the end of this week. So we've got to be a bit careful, and obviously that's going to run across all indices. All the US indices are in the same boat. Nasdaq, not so much. Obviously, you can see that with the Nasdaq, if we get a run up, it's going to be equivalent of us coming back up and retesting this level, potentially that level, really, but that'll be it. And then obviously we'll come down from there. But the Nas is obviously bearish as well, but nowhere near as bearish as obviously the other indices, because there's much more trading activity going through the US stocks. So, but it's interesting. We're in a very tricky spot with these from a decision-making perspective. Picking long and short is very, very hard this week, because the odds are of a run up this week, but we are in a bear market. So this level here, I think, on all the indices, all the US indices, you want to be watching these lows here, somewhere around these lows here. If we do start to run up, you'll be pulling up into the 24.72 zone. So if that happens this week and we see bearish price action coming through, I think I would still be looking for shorts. Damn, DAX. Should have kept that open. But up here is where I will be definitely looking for shorts. So if we get some big strong up days, I'll be looking to fade those up days, but expecting potentially it to continue to move up until Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, boom. So watching eagerly to see what happens, but equally there's every possibility we can drop down to make that new low first, and then pull back up somewhere here and still put in a bearish candle, and just gradually squeeze our way back down into these levels. So just be careful with the indices this week. It's going to be a very choppy week, lots and lots and lots of US news, so lots of things can happen. Right, let's have a look at all the FX pairs. US Dollar Cad, obviously, Aussie Dollar Cad. We know obviously this is extended on the RSI, so we've got a nice big run up. We're back up at the 72, so looking very, very nice for shorts. I've got a US dollar CAD on at the moment, which kind of conflicts with this, but that's a nice looking short opportunity. Got this high here to watch. Got lots of accumulation, lots of balance, lots of trading going on around this area. So we're going to meet lots of resistance up here. Anywhere in here, be looking for good short opportunities. So Aussie Dollar CAD is a really nice short right now. M5 you're just about to get an alert on. M15 got to wait a little bit longer, but that looks nice for a short. It's nice, coming down nicely this morning as well. So yeah, shorts on that one. Aussie Dollar Swiss, a bit of a tricky one. Swiss franc, you can see with the Swiss franc strength that we had last week, the Aussie dollar didn't really relent anywhere near as much as the other instruments did. We had much nicer moves on the others. I'm just pulling back at the minute. I'm just going to reduce risk on this ahead of this news. We've got 10 minutes to the news. I just don't like... I don't like this slow, horrible, grindy price action. We've just broken out these lows very, very nicely, but I'm just not liking the possibility of them wanting to reach for these levels this morning. So I'm a bit wary about a pullback, a push up this morning. We've got levels which look logical to head for to the upside this morning, although we have got this gap. So it's one of these two things is going to happen. I would have expected it to have done that by now, though. We've had a very, very, very weak open. So I'm just reducing risk on this one. I don't want to get too far in the hole on it. Aussie Swiss. Yeah, so I mean, we're sideways. The Swiss franc powered up. The Aussie held up against it very nicely. So we've got fairly good strength on the Aussie at the moment. Your guess is as good as mine on this. We've just taken out these lows. So we're making lovely lower highs consistently, but we are entering more into a range bound situation at the moment. So I'd be looking for a push up somewhere towards these highs, and then potentially looking for shorts again. But right now, you would have got into this one last week on the hourly, I think it was. Yeah. So it was last Tuesday, Wednesday on the hourly. You'd be in that now, nicely in profit. But yeah, not really interested in anything on the Aussie Swiss at the minute. All the yens, again, I'm still stuck on these yens. They're all sideways. Kuroda is speaking on Wednesday. That will be tentative. It was not necessarily going to be that unless it's actually at an event. Yeah, no, that will be timed, that one. So yeah, yeah. So afternoon, we got Kuroda speaking. They've billed that as orange, but anytime Kuroda is talking at the moment, the world is listening, because the Bank of Japan's in a bit of a mess. I still think the yen is going to be weak, so I would still be looking for long opportunities on it. But as you can see, it's very, very choppy. All the yens, I'll cover all the yens quickly now. They're all very, very, very sidewaysy at the minute. We've had this big, big, big run up on weakness. We are flagging across all of these at the moment. Every time the yen is strengthened, you can see how easy it is for the market to push it back at the minute. So although it is slightly strengthening, it's going to get to the point where it's suddenly going to break one of these highs. You're going to have a peak formation low going, and it's just going to go. So I'm looking for long opportunities on all of these. I would be looking for long opportunities. I'm not going to trade it at the moment, the yen. I'm just too undecided about it. And if you look at it, really, that's all we're doing, isn't it, with most of these yens. So getting into them, they're frustrating to trade at the minute. And from a directional bias, they're hard to read. So, yeah, I'd be looking more long than short, basically. But not really going to trade any of those. So if you get extensions on them, on the RSIs, to the downside, then yeah, they're probably worth looking at for long opportunities. Or you get ADR hits to the lows, probably worth looking at. But apart from that, I don't really want to be in any of those at the moment. Aussie New Zealand is a long. this is pulling back quite nicely into this area here. So we've got a lovely support resistance. We're right in it at the moment. So this, let's move that up a little bit. Somewhere around here, this is this area we're interested in. It's holding very, very nicely. New Zealand dollar obviously will go one way or the other when the rates are announced. If it pushes down, we're going to head straight into all of this chop down here, where we're going to find support. So it's factored into the market that there's going to be a 0.5% increase on the New Zealand dollar on Wednesday. I don't see any reason why the Aussie would start to suddenly lose out, because New Zealand dollar interest rates are going up by 0.5%. So I'll be looking for long opportunities on it. It's not extended on any time frame at the moment, but if you got in here, just ease yourself in as it pulls back down and wait for that bounce. So it looks good for longs Aussie New Zealand. No reason why I don't think we're going to continue the uptrend on it. You just have this thing with the Aussie New Zealand, because they're trade partners. You get these large accumulation areas, and if you get in one of those, you get in one of those. There's nothing you can do about it. So it goes sideways, and you wait for the 72 to catch up with it. When the 72 catches up, it'll give it a spring. So it's just a waiting game. 61 ADR. It's not the biggest mover in the world, but it's in a good spot for longs. And obviously, if this comes down, you've got other levels which are just going to hold price up. There's so many places that this could bounce from, and it's going to be a really slow trade, so not exciting. Aussie US looking good for shorts. Same as New Zealand US. So you look at these two side by side, very, very, very similar. I'm going short on New Zealand US. Aussie US, same thing. We've got these highs up here. Whoops. To be aware of. So we've got a nice double top there. Failing that, we've got this level up here. So we are almost extended on RSI. If we do have a reach, obviously this is going to move with the New Zealand dollar. So if we do have a reach up, somewhere up into here or here, obviously just scale into the next level down, next level short. It's just waiting basically for US dollar strength to come through, and obviously this is the week we've got all the news. So last week we had no news on the US dollar, so everything's taken advantage of it. This week we've got loads of news on the US dollar, so we should see some power coming through. DAX is pushing up, not getting anywhere, but a lot of buying coming in, not a lot of movement. So we're stuck on an inside bar at the minute. How long we got? Got 3 minutes to the German business climate. So see if that gives a bit of a rally. So yeah, Aussie dollar, US dollar, nice looking short opportunity. So again, drop down, look for reversal at M15, start getting in shorts. CAD Swiss. Longs. This obviously anything against the Swissy. This week is going to be quite a telling week for the Swiss franc. I'd be looking obviously for longs on it. We got a strong Canadian dollar. We had a weak Swiss franc until last week, and it had 2 days where it suddenly went boom and absolutely smashed everything to pieces. Loads of money flew into the Swissy out of the stock market. So it's interesting to see why that happened. If we are going to get that rally on the US indices this week, that money that went into the Swissy is going to start to filter back out, which is going to drive everything up against the Swiss franc. So looking good for long opportunities down there. But as I say, it was very hard to get long on the Swiss last week because you're standing in front of a steam train, but it all went sideways on Friday, so that's where you got your reversal alert, and we retested. So this is it. Watch the lows basically for liquidity runs, so something like that potentially, but we've got lovely targets to the upside to aim for. So looks really, really good for longs, CAD Swiss as well. Let's say I've already got a CAD on, and that'll hedge me. It's the wrong way for me. CAD yen, we covered the yens. Euro odd, looking for shorts. Obviously got out of my Euro odd last week, too early. But yeah, looking for shorts on this still. We've just double bottomed, or have we just done a liquidity run on that? Yeah, just taken out the lows of last week. Only just. So people are buying up the double bottom on this one at the minute. DAX is running up. Stopped out on the DAX. News is out. Uh, 93 off of 91, so positive. Positive news for Eurozone. Forex Factory, you are just so slow. Yeah, so positive news. So we've got a bit of a flurry on the DAX. US indices pushed on as well. So yeah, so nice bounce on the euro off of that double bottom. I would be looking for short opportunities on this though. So any moves to the upside, I'll be looking for shorts. So it's a bit of a difficult one to get into at the minute because it's so sideways. Obviously this is going to move on Wednesday when the New Zealand dollar rates are announced. So it's difficult to tell which way it's going to go, but I would obviously be looking for euro to come down. So be nice to get some New Zealand dollar positive movement, which will obviously push all of these down. So if you look at this on a flag basis, we are pulling back nicely. We have taken such a long time to undo this initial drop that we got at the start of the war. We had that little pullback and then we pushed back down into lows. We're just not really getting anywhere on anything euro based. So we're waiting for Lagarde to say something positive about the eurozone. Obviously rates are going to be going up on the euro. So if we were to get this week anywhere near this double top, I'd be looking for short opportunities up there. Where we are at the moment, we're just kind of sideways. So you can get in now, and 50-50 shot it's going to drop this week, but possibly not. Going to get him a couple of shorts on the DAX. I've got 2 minutes left on this candle. A bit of selling coming through. We didn't get. There was no mass buying there on that spike, and it's just looks like it's retracing the whole lot. So this looks like a pullback. Come down and get this gap done. Yes, Euro odd shorts, Euro CAD shorts. Again, difficult to pick a spot for a short on it. With the Euro, you just got to get into the Euro, just hit the sell button and deal with it. If it goes up, just pick some levels to get in short and just wait. But yeah, short. We had this double bottom here last week, a little bit similar to what we're seeing on the what was the other pair I saw that on? I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. Euro CAD. Anyway, got double bottom, but obviously we double topped up here as well. So the potential here is that we're starting to enter into a range. Obviously if we enter into an accumulation down here, likelihood is that's just going to be an area we're going to be happy to trade in. So this slight positive moves coming from the euro potentially over the next few months. The Canadian dollar should continue to strengthen based off of oil and the way that everything's going with them at the minute. So it makes sense to enter into an accumulation, enter into a range on this over the next sort of month, because we've got two currencies which are probably going to butt heads and go sideways. So I would be happy to take shorts here and assume that we are going to break those lows, because the Canadian dollar should still strengthen up. But equally, waiting until you get sort of anywhere up into here to enter into a couple of positions. So if we get any ADR hits to the upside, look for shorts. Same up at there, double top. That's actually a triple top really, up here. That's where I'd be looking. Let me just draw that one in so we can see, because it's this low over here as well. So yeah, so if we can get up to there, all over it. Equally though, this could just do a 50% retracement and drop. We are bearish, so either way, looking for bears. Just watching these lows. We didn't get a pop out of these lows. I was anticipating a load of orders being under there, and us, like, with the amount of selling we just had come through, I was expecting a pop. We didn't get it, so I'm just paying attention, because we may be running out of sellers. There we go. There we go. Through. Okay, so no stop until the gap fill. Potentially. Assuming we are going to continue to sell off this morning. Very weak at the moment. But yeah, we were waiting for that German business climate. This is why you need to check this every day. You know, you need to be aware. If the market is behaving weird, there's always a reason. And even though this is not, you know, a massive thing, the market was waiting for this to happen. So, you know, if you see things that are like, why on earth is it not moving this morning? It's Monday morning, we've got a gap. There should be a load of liquidity in the market. Why is it not going? Well, it's just waiting for that to be announced so that it's sure what it wants to do with its orders. Don't forget, this is the stock market. So do we want to be buying or selling stocks? Is the German business climate good or bad? Obviously we're dealing with the German stock market here, German stocks, so it's more important to the DAX than it is to the other indices. So I'm just trying to get a bit of space. I'm watching on the other one anyway. Right. So yeah, Euro Cad, looking for short opportunities. You've got a double top potentially coming with Thursday's high, which is a lovely area. It's a lovely resistance, that. Really nice level accumulated there. So that is a really good potential short opportunity there. Failing that, we'll probably come up and find some sellers here. Failing that, we're going to go into that range. So if you wanted to get into that, you could short it here. Failing that, take a second entry half an ADR away and take another one 3/4 an ADR above that. And then wait for that Canadian dollar. Euro Swiss. Euro Swiss is just a mess. It was lovely until the war, until this sort of massive drop and mess we had. So it's basically in an absolute mess at the moment. It's being driven by the Swiss franc. It always has been driven by the Swiss franc, and obviously it's always been weak because the Swiss franc is always going to be stronger. So, but right now we've got, since the war kicked in properly and we went back up, it's an utter mess. So very, very, very hard to trade this. Levels are all over the place. You can literally flip a coin on it. So where we are at the moment, we're sitting bang in the middle of a range. Well, not quite. It's more in the middle of that range. So, you know, I'd be much more inclined to look for longs on this at the moment, just based on the fact that the Swiss franc will probably want to fade a little bit. People will be taking profit on this Swiss franc move that they've made money on. And then we'll be looking for an area, basically, where we will potentially start next leg down from. So a little bit of a fade and then shorts, but I'll be looking for short opportunities on it, but not going to short it down there. Euro pound, again, another messy one. Pound is weak, euro is weak, sideways movement. You get news where one will get stronger than the other and then the other one takes over, but overall both of these are shorts, so I just don't really want to be trading it. This is very much like the Aussie New Zealand at the moment, except we haven't got anybody in strength, so we've got a very small ADR. You've got two currencies which are big strong trade partners, although we are fighting like dogs at the moment over Northern Ireland. So there's potentially a trade war on the cards, which will really upset the euro pound. But which way it will go, I have no idea. So again, not one that I'm really interested in. Something you can probably take pretty much every RSI extension you see and make money on, just because it's so choppy. It moves up and down, up and down, up and down all over the place. You know, you get a little bit of euro news and it strengthens. You get a little bit of pound news and it weakens. So yeah, just take RSI extensions. So you had one last week, nice profit. Had one there, nice profit. Had one there, which would have been second entry on that one. Had one there, lovely. Had one there, lovely. Had one there, bit of a pull up, second position, out. You know, just use RSI. That's all we need to do with that. But it's just a mess. Euro yen we've covered. Euro New Zealand. Looking for shorts on this one, but again, this is a little bit of a mess as well. I'd be looking for shorts. We need to be aware of what happens with the New Zealand dollar. That's going to be the real crux of it this week. If we see the New Zealand dollar starting to strengthen and hold its strength, obviously this is a lovely short. If we see the opposite starting to happen, we're probably just going to do this or slightly flag up. So it's a short, but I wouldn't want to be selling it all the way down here. So we kind of missed the boat on it. Last week was the entry on this one, up here. I don't really want to be selling it short down here. I know we've gone bullish from an RSI perspective, but from a moving average perspective on the dailies, but I'll still be looking for shorts. So not really easy to trade at the moment. Euro US dollar shorts. So yeah, these levels up here start scaling in. If it continues to push up ahead of FOMC, I think you'll be all right on FOMC. All the pounds, pretty much the same as the euros. That's a symmetrical triangle. It's not a symmetrical triangle, it's just like a contracting range. It's holding. So yeah, not really going anywhere at the moment. Your guess is as good as mine, but my guess would be down because of the pound. Euro is more likely to strengthen up than the pound is. That will move on New Zealand dollar. New Zealand dollar expected to possibly increase its strength on the rate announcement. Therefore, Aussie dollar will do the same and pound odd will come down. But yeah, get in. Don't get in too close together just in case, because the pound is obviously one that can go nuts. But we're flatlined across the board at the minute on the RSIs, so there's nothing, no signals, nothing. It's sideways. Can't trade it. But if you did want to build a position on it, I get in short. But bear in mind, you will have been in that short for however long. But this cannot contract forever. You get to a point where it literally can't contract anymore, and it has to break out. We're getting close. In fact, I might try a little short under there. So I go a little short under there on the pound odd. we've just rejected this low, so chances are this week we're just going to grind back up and then grind back down. But if we do get that strength, I'm going to be asleep for it. Obviously because New Zealand and the Aussie move in the Asian session while I'm asleep. So I want to be gathered into it if that does strengthen. So yeah, pound odd, nice short. Pound CAD short as well. Again, waiting for an RSI extension, haven't got it. You can get in on the hourly. There was opportunities to get in on the hourly, but yeah, this is coming up to a nice level of support. We've got a couple of good, resistance. Got a couple of good resistance levels coming up at the moment. This level here is the ultimate area, 200 ADR. That's where I would expect us to get the proper bounce back down again from up there. But we've got to get there. So somewhere around here is where I would be looking. So this area here. So yeah, a little bit more upside potentially on it, but equally this thing could come down at any time. CAD. Wednesday is obviously oil news every week, which is really annoying. They don't put it on here anymore. So annoying. They've made it yellow news. You don't see it anymore. So it kind of goes out of your mind. But it's always 3:30 Wednesday afternoon, oil. Right. Yeah, so looking for shorts there. We've got some nice levels coming up. Obviously, so any of these highs really could act, or these lows can act as support resistance. So I just think we're getting close to gap fill on DAX. I'm just going to close one, go break even on the other. Yeah, so looking for shorts basically. How far it's going to get, I don't know. So reversal alerts, if you want to start scaling into it now, it's not quite there on the hourly. It was there on the hourly last week and obviously got a nice drop on it, but it has pushed up again. So I'll be looking for short opportunities, but it's difficult to get into. So any reversal alert on, we just had an M15. M15, M5 reversal alerts you can get in shorts on, and just plan your entries on it. So get in here. Don't want to take any more there, but probably one somewhere up in this area if we get up to ADR. And then, yeah, just sit on it and wait, basically. But we should see CAD strength. We have nothing to say that the pound should strengthen in any way, shape or form. And especially if we have a trade war announced with Europe, then it ain't going to be good. So we're looking for shorts. Pound Swiss, same sort of thing with the Pound Swiss. Looking for shorts, but it's an utter mess at the minute. We're down at these lows. I took a long on this one last week. I got out there, it pushed back down, it pushed back up again. We're rejecting here. Got this massive propulsion gap. We've got these highs. You know, it's just a horrible, horrible thing to trade. But anywhere down in these lows, I'd be happy to buy it up, but I want to be out of it very, very quick. We're getting a lot of bouncing down here. But, you know, I got out of this trade here because I said I wanted to break these highs. We did finally break those highs, and then it rejected them again, and then it went back up again. So we are getting buyers down here. We're getting loads of sellers up there. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at what to do. But overall, I'd be bearish on the pair, just because of what happened with the Swiss franc last week. We had that lovely strength of the Swissy, yeah, which obviously we are now in the bounce back. But look what happened last time. We bounced off of this, we got to here, and then we chopped around for a good couple of weeks. So expect to get chopped around on it if you're going to get into it. Not a very good one to trade. Looked at that one. Pound New Zealand, same as the pound odd. We're looking for short opportunities. We're contracting at the moment. Obviously, we've just broken down, actually. This is looking a little bit nicer. So we've just broken down out of the range. Back down at these lows. I'd be looking for short opportunities, so don't really want to be selling it all the way down here. You could, you're selling a breakout basically, so there is the opportunity for it to pull back into this range and wait for Wednesday's news and then go short. But pound odd I think is a much nicer one, just because we are contracting a little bit nicer, and you know it's easy to take a breakout short on this, and the New Zealand one just looks a bit messy, doesn't it? So pound US shorts, same as the Euro US, waiting for US dollar strength. We've got this high here, these highs, we've got this little accumulation. So if we look at this one on the 4 hour, we've got this little accumulation here where we will probably find there are sellers sitting. We've got this high, which we could potentially double top off of. So if we can get up to either of these levels, you know, if he gets to there and then it slams through that one, obviously wouldn't be looking to trade that. If it gets up into this zone, be looking for reversal alerts to get in short. Failing that, we're coming up here. That's going to take a weak US dollar to allow the pound to push up there with what's going on at the moment. So I don't think it's on the cards. Never know. FOMC, the Fed could come out and do something really stupid, which makes the US dollar very, very, very weak. Don't know. No idea. So I'd be looking for shorts on it, assuming that we are going to get some US dollar strength coming through, and the pound is weak. New Zealand Dollar Cad we've looked at. New Zealand Dollar Swiss is a downwards mess, so I'm looking for shorts. That's a really good short entry right now. These obviously held up fairly well. That Swiss franc strength obviously did kick in last week, but holding up a lot better than New Zealand and the Aussie. Overall though, we are in a downtrend, so be looking for short opportunities. But again, this one is not getting particularly nicely extended. And it's just it's a channel, so just keep trading the channel basically. That is a really nice rejection this morning. Yeah, let's come off this level here. Yeah, nice short right now. What was that pending I had? Yeah, I can't take. I'm not going to take this one, but I'm looking for a New Zealand dollar, US dollar short. But yeah, this looks like a really nice. If you want to get into a trade right now, that is looking like a nice entry. Not quite extended, but it's a beautiful zone to start taking shorts from in here. It's this area here. Very, very strong. Yeah, we've rejected out that nicely. I really like that. I'm taking it. Yeah, I'm going to take it. It just looks really good. Nice rejection. I'll keep an eye on my other ones. I'm going to get slightly overexposed on the New Zealand dollar if the other trade triggers, but that looks like a nice looking short. Obviously, we've got build up against ahead of the news on Wednesday. So depending on where that trade is by Tuesday evening, I will decide whether or not to get out of that or hold it. But it looks good. And obviously, scaling into it, you've got it's just textbook. If you wanted to draw textbook market structure on a chart, that's it. Yeah, I mean this is exactly where this market structure will continue from. If it doesn't, I shall be shorting again back up there. Potentially, actually, it might take one of those lows, depending. So that's half an ADR. That's nearly an ADR. But looks good. New Zealand dollar yen recovered. New Zealand dollar US dollar. That's the other one I've got short entry on. Waiting for US dollar to power up. So again, I'll be getting another short on that one. If that one comes down, what I might do is actually move that one down now because I've got a New Zealand short on So I just put that under the hourly reversal alert. So the US dollars, got some buying starting to show on the US indices. Actually, just watching this DAX. Starting to we've made a new low, so we're still holding structure. We've got some buyers coming out. I'll just shut that out. 0.7. I'm going to put that in the bank. Can always get back in. It's probably going to fill, but I mean I'm done for the day basically, so I'm putting it in the bank. US Dollar Cad longs. So I've got the buys on US Dollar Cad already. As I say, I started to long the US Dollar Cad last week. When we got these bounces here, I was longing it from here, and we tanked. So I closed out the longs that I had from up here on Friday last week, and left these two on, which is why Friday was a bit of a low day, because I took some loss off basically just to reduce this down over the weekend. But I still like the US Dollar Cad long. We haven't had that US dollar news though, so all we've had basically is kind of this horrible grind down. These lows are really my kind of point of no return, but I've got a feeling they may well come down and try and take these on FOMC. So I'm watching this to see if we get a pull back down to here. I will add another position down there. This high here really is, we shouldn't get beyond 150 ADR. So I reckon we've got maybe another ADR drop on this potentially. It could just go, obviously. It depends what happens. We've got US dollar and CAD news this week. But yeah, I'm looking for longs on the US dollar. So this in hindsight probably isn't the best pair to pick, because we've got two strong currencies against each other. So why am I not surprised we're accumulating? But I think the US dollar obviously will power up more than the CAD, so we'll get a good push up on that at some point, hopefully this week. But it could well just come down before that. US dollar Swiss, lovely looking support area. We've broken down below that. We've just taken out the lows. So again, looking for longs, but really want to see what happens with the Swiss franc this week. We've had 2 strong days and a rest. This Swissy, if something's going on and people are pulling out the stock market and pumping into the Swissy as a new safe haven for some reason, whether it be the Russians or whether it be whoever, it seems that we're entering a little bit of a risk-off scenario, and we're finding somewhere to put some cash. So I'm watching the Swissy this week. I want to see what happens with it. If we get more buying on the Swiss franc, be careful of this one. Be careful of all Swiss franc positions. So the trouble with this one specifically is we have got very little clues as to where we would stop on the way down. This accumulation here, we broke out of and tested it twice before pushing up to new highs. We know this is a strong area of buyers. The sellers were trying to reverse it here, no chance. And this is exactly where we stalled out on Friday. So it's no coincidence we got stopped here, because this is where the buyers are defending their positions and trying to add to their longs. But it looks like the sellers are actually winning out a little bit this morning. So watching this to see where we go. If we break this low, break this accumulation here, it's very difficult to pick a spot. So not really one I want to be interested in at the minute, because this could go either way. But I would expect US dollar to power up, but if the US dollar powers up at the same time as the Swiss powers up, we'd probably get a power struggle and just go sideways for a bit. So it's not really very good to trade. But if we do that, you want to be buying the lows. And this is likely to be where the lows of the range form from. So again, it's a good looking buy. So right now, M5, if you want to get in with a really low risk trade, take the next reversal alert there, simply stop under that low. If this gets invalidated, that's your risk. But your reward is potentially going into a range on the US dollar Swiss. Range could be anywhere. So it's plenty of up. There's way more upside than there is downside on it. But if the downside comes in, it could be a long way down. So I think it's a good little risk reward trade there. But I'm just not sure what's happening with the Swissy. So US dollar yen, we're covered. Don't know what's going on with the US dollar yen. Don't know what's going on with the yen. But I do know the Bank of Japan have said they're happy for it to go up to 135. So therefore, assume the Bank of Japan are going to honour that and say, yeah, whatever. All the US dollar news this week comes out positive. That's going up there. But we just haven't had any strength on the US dollar to get it there. So Kuroda has said 135 is not a problem. I'm not quite sure why the Fed aren't taking full advantage of that, making it happen. But we got Kuroda speaking this week. So ahead of FOMC as well. So yeah, could be a very turbulent day on Wednesday. But that's it for analysis. I expect net purchases under APP to end. Yes, we know. God, talk about flogging a dead horse. Let me guess, you're going to say that interest rates are going to go up July. You just keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. He keeps getting like red news. And it's like, yeah, we know. The market knows. Yes, that's it. Morning, Gumani. You're a little bit late this morning. It's 9:30. Been here since 8. Anybody got anything else I want to discuss on any pairs? So 1.5 hour opening range is in. Didn't quite get the gap done. I think we probably will. Why didn't I hold that on my funded account? Should have held it. Made $500, but that could have been much more. So just be aware down here. So looking at the indices, obviously, like I said, be cautious this week. We're on our 7th down week on the US indices. These things have a tolerance. It doesn't matter how bearish you are on the market. When you see stock getting this cheap, it's so we're human. People that run hedge funds, people that run investment firms, people that run investment banks on desks are humans. They see stock cheap, they want to buy it. It's cheap at the moment, very cheap, and it's been getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And it's likely we're going to want to buy some stuff this week, but we've got a lot of news, and the likelihood is we may well be waiting for FOMC. So what I would really like to see this week is a rally ahead of Wednesday to get us up into these lows, and then I will be all over shorts on it, because I would be expecting the US dollar to power up, which will dump the markets. So that's what I'm looking to happen this week, but it doesn't at the moment. Doesn't look like it's happening, does it? So far. So be aware when we get down here on the DAX. If we get down here on the DAX, this is potentially where we could be starting to buy up this week. But I'm not wanting us to break this high specifically. This is a strategic high. This makes this a peak formation low, which makes this bullish market structure. So I don't want this high to get broken. I still want to be selling the DAX. It's nice and easy to sell at the minute. Anyway, that's it for this morning. Anybody got anything else they want to cover? As I say, I'm not here next week. There is a message on the website that I'm not here, but I'll put a message in Telegram in a minute as well. So I'm trying not to get into anything too heavy. Probably take a couple more positions this week, but I'll be looking to close out. Really, I don't want to hold it over holiday because I don't want to have to worry about opening the laptop while I'm on holiday. Oh, I'm going a little short. See if we can grab on another couple of percent. A couple of percent, not a couple of percent. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Grab a couple of percent. That would need to come down here somewhere though. Which would be nice. Another 0.2 is what I meant. Get me up to 2%. So yeah, just to recap positions I've got on. New Zealand dollar Swiss I've got short, US dollar CAD I'm long, and I've got a couple of pendings, New Zealand dollar US dollar. I've got a short on the hourly reversal alert, and the pound odd. I'm looking for a short on that when we break out of this this range, so I'm looking for to get gathered up on some Aussie dollar strength. So that's all I'm planning to start this week. Hopefully those will be played out by Friday, which would be very nice. Now you're going to stop me out for 0.5% now, aren't you? Just because I took another short. New Zealand dollar CAD looks like it's about to give an alert short on M15. Yeah, I was just looking at that. Nice reverse alert and retest on US as well. So these are all the New Zealand dollar CAD was the ADR hit this morning, so that came off absolutely spot on. ADR reversal and retest, but yeah, M15 just about to get an alert potentially as well. Looks good. And New Zealand dollar US dollar as well, that's the other reason I'm on that. But I've taken that other New Zealand dollar trade now, so that I've moved that entry down. That I probably would have been gathered up into that now actually, but I'm going to give it a little bit more room on that one. But they both look good this morning. Both nicely extended on the 4 hour, and both hit ADR. And both showing signs of reversal at the 24. So good shorts. DAX has gone slow. All markets gone slow. That's a real big rejection down at that low as well. Do I like that? I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm going to give this a candle. Got another minute left on this. This looks like obviously we've pulled down nicely. We've pulled back. A lot of people have entered long there. Stops under there. So we're potentially putting in an uneven W reversal here. As I say, these I still think the gap's going to get filled on it. We're too close, but we may well pull back first. So I'm just give it this candle. If this shows us a big strong hammer, I'll close this out. I don't really want to give it back. Look for a pullback. Somewhere in there. Stop it out just above the high of that candle. Tiny risk. We are going down. I'm going to add one under the lows of that candle, and then I'll watch price action down here. So in this zone here, this is the close, this is the high of the 5-minute candle on Friday. So if it gets down into this area, I'll be watching for price signs of rejection down there. But if it pushes up, I'm out. So Bailey this afternoon, be aware of Bailey talking. Every time he opens his mouth at the moment, he uses words like Armageddon and not looking good, difficult times, challenging, all that sort of stuff. So it's quite good when he opens his mouth at the moment. You want to be short on the pound. I don't think he's going to open his mouth and say anything positive. You never know. But so be aware of that this afternoon. Could get some decent downward movement on the pound. I'm stopped out. Right, I'm done on that for this morning. 1.6%. So New Zealand dollar Swiss short, US dollar CAD long, and those other couple of pendings on New Zealand and the pound. So the main one I'm looking to get into this afternoon is the pound odd. So when Bailey starts talking, hopefully he'll send this cascading, and then New Zealand dollar will power it up on Wednesday further to push that down. That's the plan. DAX, if you want to get into any more DAX this morning, we've got this propulsion gap here, potentially where we could get short. We got there and there, potentially for short opportunities. So if it pushes up into those areas, and that is an if, that's where I'll be looking to short out of, somewhere up there, and obviously come down and try and get this gap fill done. But they've probably just stopped me out and then going to dump. But I'm not taking the risk. I've done the money this morning. Right, so that's it from me this morning. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 7:50, same time. Be aware of Bailey this afternoon. Tomorrow morning we'll be here anyway, but we've got the PMIs start at 8:15, 8:30. So it's going to be a very tricky morning on the DAX tomorrow. We got lots of news, so I would be very surprised if we get a strong open tomorrow. We're probably going to get a very weak open at 8 o'clock. We'll be waiting for 8:15 for the first move, but 8:30 is really when it's going to start to kick in. So I think it'll be a tricky one tomorrow. And then obviously we've got the pound tomorrow morning as well. So that's it for news-wise today, apart from Bailey. So be aware of your pound pairs. Other than that, we'll be looking for movement ahead of FOMC, and then it all kicking off on Wednesday. So today's the no news day. So tomorrow is when it's all going to start to move. So we could see some big movements this week, today, but I think most of it's going to happen tomorrow and Wednesday. So I shall get some positions ready. Okay, so that's it. Anything you need, I'll be in the Telegram group. Link's coming up to that in a minute if you're not already in there. Yeah, have a good day. I will be back tomorrow morning, 7:50, same time. Have a good one.